Most of us carry parts of our lives that feel unfinished, dreams that didn't unfold the way we imagined, work that never quite came together, or inner places that still feel in process. We often assume those places mean something went wrong. But what if the unfinished parts of your life are not problems to solve or failures to explain, but something to be received with reverence? Hi, friends. I'm Jem Fadling, and this is the Unhurried Living podcast, where we inspire you to rest deeper, live fuller, and lead better. Today, I want to offer a different way of seeing what remains incomplete. A few years ago, on my first trip to Italy with my husband, we visited the Accademia Gallery in Florence. We were tired, deeply jet-lagged, and honestly questioning whether it was wise to walk across the city that day. But we were determined because we had one clear goal in mind. We wanted to see Michelangelo's David. Like so many people, I had seen photos of David countless times, but standing in that space with the scale and beauty of the sculpture towering above us, well, it was breathtaking. It's one of those moments where art stops being an object and becomes an experience. Yet what surprised me most that day wasn't David, and it was in the room right next door. Just before you enter the room where David stands, there's a gallery lined with several large marble pedestals. On them are sculptures that are clearly unfinished. Michelangelo had been commissioned to create an enormous 3-story freestanding tomb with more than 40 figures. It was an ambitious vision, but over the 40 years he remained connected to the project. The scope kept changing. Other commissions intervened, and most notably, the Sistine Chapel consumed years of his life and creative energy. Eventually, the tomb was completed, but it was only a fraction of what Michelangelo had originally imagined. The sculptures that never made it onto the tomb now stand in that room beside David, and they are known as the prisoners. Half marble block, half human form, they appear as though figures are emerging from stone or perhaps still trapped within it. You can see muscles straining, faces partially revealed, bodies twisting toward freedom, yet never fully released. They are unfinished. Yet somehow over time, they weren't discarded. They weren't hidden away, and they were not labeled as failures. They're displayed in one of the most famous museums in the world, and they are considered art. Well, that really struck me, that even half-finished Michelangelos are worth beholding. And it raised questions I couldn't shake, questions that feel deeply relevant to our inner lives. Can I love every part of my own formation process, even when what I dreamed didn't come to complete fruition? Can I accept my unfinished attempts to create something beautiful? Most of us begin our lives, our vocations, and maybe even our spiritual journeys with at least a stab at a vision of how things are supposed to unfold. We imagine the fulfilled calling, a more healed version of ourselves, or important work relationships restored. But life rarely cooperates with our original plans. Circumstances change. Health shifts, responsibilities increase, opportunities disappear, doors close that we assumed would remain open. Some things get completed and others don't. And often the end result isn't what we thought it would be. We tend to interpret that as loss or disappointment or even failure. But what if the unfinished parts of your life are not evidence that you've missed the point? What if they're simply part of the process? Like Michelangelo's prisoners, what if the unfinished places are not mistakes, but necessary steps in the becoming? This metaphor might be helpful for work projects, creative endeavors, vocational paths, but I think it's even more important when we apply it to our inner formation. Spiritual growth doesn't happen in straight lines. Healing is not tidy, and maturity unfolds slowly and unevenly. These are insights we glimpse, but we don't fully live into yet. Patterns we recognize, but haven't completely transformed, and maybe practices we begin, but don't sustain, and still, God is present. Michelangelo's unfinished sculptures stand in the room right next to one of his greatest achievements. The museum does not separate them into success and failure. All of it is considered art. All of it is protected, and all of it is cherished. And we can have this posture toward our own lives. In light of this, let's try on 3 ways to engage this new posture. First, name what feels unfinished in your life without judging it. Take the time to gently name the areas of your life that feel incomplete, not to fix them and not to criticize yourself, but simply to acknowledge them with honesty and compassion. Hold space for what is and see it with eyes of compassion. Number 2, practice reverent curiosity instead of self-criticism. You could ask yourself, what's been forming in me through this unfinished place, rather than why didn't I do this better? Curiosity opens space for grace. We are always being transformed. There is always room for more growth. And in some ways, we're always unfinished. So we can move toward accepting this as a beautiful part of life's process. Number 3, receive love where you are, as you are, not where you hope to be. God's love is not waiting for the finished version of you. You can practice receiving God's love in your current form, unfinished edges and all. And it's all we can do anyway, is to receive the unfathomable love of God now, as we are. While the unfinished parts of your life are not wasted, they're not embarrassing, and again, they're not failure. They may be some of the most honest, holy, and formative places of all. So may you learn to see your life the way that gallery in Florence invites us to see Michelangelo's work, not only celebrating what is complete, but also honoring what isn't. Blessings to you as you make your way. Thank you for joining me on the Unhurried Living podcast. You can download free resources and learn more about us at unhurriedliving.com. And please subscribe and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues. We'd also like to thank our partner, Life Audio. Check out their other faith-centered podcasts at lifeaudio.com. Blessings to you as you make your way.